Good day, everybody. Brian here, quantlabs.net. Pretty well, quantlabsnet.com now. October 24th, 2024. This post went up on the CPP subreddit on Reddit. Uh, New podcast with these two, Rust versus C with Steve Plabnett and Herb Sutter's Software Engineering Daily. Going to go through the comments here. Also, right here is the article as well. There's a transcript as well if you want to see it. More importantly, I want to talk about, I just put out a new course and just want to show you the TO index, which I think is really important. These are jobs, actual jobs, and popularity in those jobs and the trends that are happening in the programming languages from what I'm seeing. Python number one. This is for October. There's some commentary here that you might want to be made aware of. Let me just get rid of this. Thank you. Saying that Python's obviously number one, and the general trend is that Rust. Okay, so engineers are frantically looking for a fast alternative to Python, C++. Obvious candidate, not secure because of its explicit memory management, but Rust is another candidate. Apparently, there's a lot of regulation talk when it comes to memory leaks on programming languages. That's been happening for a while with the White House. And Rust is one of those languages coming about on popularity. But when you look at my course I put out that goes through over 10 years of different quantitative strategy building techniques and trading system techniques, you'll find there's a lot of Python, C++, Java are still out there. C not so much. C sharp is still pretty big. I've tried for about a year with JavaScript. I really went nowhere with it. Um, I don't even know how to explain it. But the other language that's still out there, I think, and number 12 is MATLAB. And you can see it's growing. It's just really easy to build strategies with. So check out the course that I'm talking about. Rust is right behind it. So we've seen this before with R, and R has fallen back farther. What it really boils down to is how many jobs does the programming language take? Okay, and that's the big deal. That's why you see these languages up here, and especially with Python, with all the different trends out there. But specifically to Rust and uh, Python, Rust versus um, C++. Let's go over to some of the comments here on this is a big group. This is a good couple 100,000 people that get this. So, so in here, comments about a whole bunch of languages have an ISO standard without going through the ISO standardization process. That's a joke. I mean, that's the whole point of ISO. Um, so from my research, ISO doesn't impose additional requirements of externally developed standards. Public and their liaison relationship between the FastPath process for rubber stamping. Oof. Um, there's some experience here that you should know about. So this guy is saying Honey Crisis says he's glad to be out of the business, out of the server code end of things. And I don't know if he's moved into embedded as well. There's a lot, at least a lot of the time. Hardening is not really expected. It depends on the complexity of the firmware. And so this is the point he's saying when it comes to safety. This guy sounds like he's fairly experienced. Uh, that might not go over well with some of you, but there is a cost associated with safety. And with tiny devices, it's always robbing Peter to pay Paul. So sacrifices must be made. And what you can live with depends on the product. Is it a Fitbit or a chemotherapy control unit? It matters. Um, Creating hardened code in C and C++ isn't fun historically, but it sounds like this guy kind of likes it. Many foot guns in mid-level languages, not really C or C++, is fault. It's just that the product they want. Um, Now, obviously, for high frequency trading, safety is does matter because it's live trading, live money put on the stake, but they go through a pretty rigorous process, I would imagine. So safety is going to be part of that coding process, that coding development cycle. I know a lot of who are very methodical, but that's not me. I code because I enjoy it. No other significant reason. He gets paid, da 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 da. Of a lot. So this guy has a lot of respect for this guy, Herb Sutter. He's been talking over the decades. A lot of his work, and this guy also tried Rust, and it's curmudgeon that doesn't like the syntax like FN, which irks him. Not a pretty language. So I mean, he may not, the language Rust may not win over a lot of people, but as younger coders come in, they're going to probably want that type of language. They don't want to work with the grandpappy, the daddy C++ and other languages. It's still okay with Python, it seems. C++ is not going anywhere in my lifetime. They said that decades ago. It's still one of the top languages. It's very entrenched. Rust is not a replacement, but aside from sheer inertia, heavy cost involved in learning C++. I can tell you that is true from the book that I'm reading right now. Fortunately for me, I've worked enough with C++ back in, let's say, before 2013. A lot of it kind of has changed, but so is the declaring of variables and whatnot. That's changed, but the core of it really hasn't changed a lot. The STL hasn't changed. They've expanded it, but nothing earth shattering. Well, there's earth shattering in there, but it's not like you can't pick it up fast. It takes years to get to what I consider good. Imagine almost nobody wants to just shelve that investment to go with something new without a compelling reason. So that's why I see all the old fuddy duddies still hanging on to their even COBOL, Java, C, C++. Um, what he says doesn't think the whole versus thing is wise. Rust fills a niche. C++, uh, it always was, and Rust can do some of the heavy lifting these days. It's an upstart compared to C++ in its infant stage. Good comparison, which is true because it takes languages virtually decades to get into the mainstream, especially for more and more companies to work with it and create more jobs. That's what drives the language popularity is the potential of job growth coming out of it, um, and the demand for it. It wasn't achieved critical mass yet, but the trajectory seems to be there. But even with that, I'm willing to bet it will if the versus dynamic continues always live in the shadow of C++. I think so. COBOL was a completely different language. I'm not finding so much a lot of Java out there. Still growing a lot faster than C++, but Python's still doing quite well. You can see here both C sharp is dropping off. And I think just more and more systems being created are done in Linux and Unix. So there's no need for .NET and Windows. That's what I'm seeing. Little brother comparing his flex with his older sibling. I think it's kind of counterproductive. Rust has a niche, just embrace it. Anyways, I could go on and on about that, but there's this article about it, and there's always going to be back and forth between those concepts. Now, as I said, Rust put out some Rust content. It's not as received as much with C++. I think C++ does well because of the pay. People are kind of like searching for new career paths. C++ is one of them for the uh, payout, especially in the world of HFT. And I've already talked about, the education that you need, the level of education you need, being top in game. And the only other places where you can go to benefit with those kind of skills is doing it on your own. That's what I do. So as for what I do, what you can do to join, get your free C++ and HFT ebook, which is out. Just fill out all your info here. At the same time, just wanted to let you know the course that I referred to, I posted now, is right here under the program list, right here, algorithmic trading comprehensive look. And it's fairly cheap right now. We're going to be switching over from US dollar to British pound, which means it'll be a 30% increase next week. If you're on my email list, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you pay attention to that sort of thing. Anyway, so this article is quite interesting. Um, there's a transcript if you want to hear it. It is a podcast, not a video. And we'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening and have a good day.